Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing our benchmark test for the Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition. Now this is the Octacore version, so make sure to keep that in mind for all these tests. This is not the one with the Snapdragon 800 processor, that's the quad core. So let's check it out, and we'll start off with Antutu. So this is what I scored last time when I tested it out earlier, just to give you an idea of how it ranks. How it tested out, it was a little bit less compared to the Note 3, so a little bit less, and that's to be expected. The octa-core version isn't supposed to perform as well as that model, as the quad-core model in terms of processing power. The idea behind the octa-core is it's supposed to be better battery life, which we're going to find that out. But so that is how it did. If you want to look at some of the specifics for the device, let me zoom in for you for that. It's a little blurry. And still blurry. And not sure why it's not focusing correctly. But let's move on to actually test it out. And see how it does. You can see the FPS is definitely varying. And so this time it scored a little bit higher than the Note 3 actually. So you can see, and so definitely better compared to other devices out there. If you see all the way down here where the Nexus 10 was last year, huge improvement. You're pretty much doubling the processing power of last year's. And then when we see the top 20, you know, 34 is very respectable. It's probably out of the top 10, but actually it's even out of the top 20 itself, or yeah, even out of the top 20 by a little bit, but definitely not too far from there. So still very high in terms of how high it ranks. And when comparing to the Note 3 side by side, it of course beats it overall, but very comparable. You can see it kind of goes back and forth between the two devices, so very interesting in that aspect. All right, now let's test out just the processing power in CPU Prime benchmark. And just test this out. I do like this because it first tests out the one single core by itself, and then it'll do the multi-core. So I do like that just because it gives you the sense of both, because some apps and games will just work on one processor, whereas some will use multiple, so we'll see. And as you can see, in comparison to the S4 on this one, you have an 8606, so very high score when it comes to comparing to the others. Without text. Oh, let's just want to see from online results. So how our device compares, it actually even beat the NVIDIA Shield, which is pretty impressive. It beat the Tegra 4 processor, that means, and it beat devices, of course, like the Nexus 10. Again, this one, almost tripling the score of the Nexus 10 from last year. So definitely really good when it comes to being a very high and intensive performer for the most part. Now what we're going to see a difference here is in the 3D mark test. So the 3D mark test is really just for graphics purposes. So when we compare this, we're going to see some different kind of results. So first of all, on the regular test, it obviously maxes out easily. There is it would be very easy to assume that it would max out. However, on this one, for the extreme test, you get a score of 9158, which is well above what the average was, and I consistently got over 9,000 when I test this when I tested this out. So this seems a little bit low to me, but I mean, I don't have many apps on here, so maybe that's obviously what improved my score. However, when I kind of go through the device channel and see it, let's filter this through the extreme one. The Note 10.1 with the 800 processor actually did max it out on the extreme test. So again, that's the way it should be. The Note 10.1 2014 edition with the Snapdragon 800 should be better for gaming and processing intensive things, whereas this model, although it's below right here, is still very high up and still beats a lot of other devices out on the market, such as the Nexus 7, the Moto Droid, the Moto X, the iPad 4. So it does beat out the iPad 4 currently right now on the market, and other devices. So that's pretty important to note. The other thing is on the unlimited section, I got 139926, whereas on here, again, the reigning one actually is the Note 3 up here with the highest score on the Ultimate right now. And when it comes to the Note 10.1 for the Snapdragon, it is higher compared to the average score that I got over here. So you can see, for all intents and purposes, this is going to be a great when it comes to regular usage. However, when it comes to flat out benchmarks, overall the Octacore will fall short of its companion device, which is the Snapdragon 800 processor. Alright guys, that was the benchmark test for the Note 10.1 2014 edition. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. This has been RCKY, the Android Guy.